I'm Chris, and I'm from Monkey Nut, and we're here at CRE 2024 in Milton Keynes. It's great to be here, and I'm joined by Juliet Hemingray. Hi, Juliet.
Hi there.
Now, I've been really fascinated to chat with you, actually, because you have quite a specialist job. Tell us what it is.
We design and make church textiles. So it could be for the Anglican Church, the Baptist, the Methodist, the United Reformed Church, and we also make items for faith schools as well.
Nice. And we talk about textiles. We're talking about gowns. We're talking about uniforms for schools, I guess, in some regard.
Sometimes a school will come to us and say we want a focal point in the church, in the school hall. So then we'll work with them to produce something beautiful for the kids to enjoy.
Ah, and I guess, do you get to work with a lot of the children on projects like that?
Occasionally. In the Diocese of Chester a few years ago, we worked with 5 schools. They sent us in pictures, and basically we had to sift through hundreds of pictures to choose which ones we wanted to use aspects of to form banners for Chester Cathedral. That was really fun.
I bet it was. And
Yes.
is it still in Chester Cathedral now?
Yes, it is, and there's an altar frontal that the kids designed as well.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
lovely.
it was good.
And on the other side of things, we're talking about things for churches. Talk me through that and how that works. Because obviously, different churches, different colours, different
Yeah.
kinds of... I don't want to use the word uniform, but it is kind of a uniform for some priests, isn't it? Talk me through that process, because from the outside world, it's quite unique, really, isn't it?
Yes. Well, we first came to be making things for churches after I'd been trawling around the theological colleges in Britain and producing ordination stoles for the trainee priests. And then after a few years, they have their own church, and then they might get some bequest funds in, and they would perhaps start ordering vestments for the church or altar frontals and banners. So our work in that area started to grow many, many years ago. In fact, this is my 45th year of doing this work. And it's just been an absolute joy to bring colour into some very dire-looking places and to bring some hope and some cheer for people to enjoy every Sunday.
And how important is colour in your job? Because obviously we can talk about textiles, but colour brings so much joy and vibrancy to things.
Yes.
Is there a certain kind of pattern or set that you always jump to when you're working with a particular church or denomination, or are you trying to look to do something different with them?
I think the main brief for me to learn about from the church is, firstly, what seasonal colour they would like us to work with. And the seasonal colours are red, green, purple, just counting on my hands, red, green, white, purple, and sometimes some churches have blue. Now the red sets would be for Martyrs' Days and Pentecost, Holy Week. The white for Christmas, Easter, baptisms. Occasionally people want to wear white to celebrate someone's life during a funeral. Purple, that would be for Advent and Lent. And then what are we left with? Sometimes churches will have blue instead of purple. It's part of an old Sarum group of colours that some churches use. And each colour brings its own symbolism. For instance, in Lent it might be crown of thorns for the penitential season. In Advent it would be candles and stars. Pentecost would be flames, the Holy Spirit and a dove. The green, I tend to do lots of Eucharistic symbols like grapes and wheat. And we've got, what have we got left? Red, white, green, purple. Christmas and Easter.
Yes.
That's the missing one. Christmas and Easter is white, celebration. And sometimes when a church comes to me, they can't always decide unanimously what they would like, so they call me in. Sometimes I will go and visit a church and take measurements, take lots of photos, and match my fabrics samples up to the windows and the chairs and the carpets. And then I'll go back and I'll work with my designer, Rebecca Harrison, and together we'll come up with a design, hopefully one that will please all people in the church. Because if I'm doing a church visit, I will listen out for the very quiet person was being overshadowed by a very loud person. And generally speaking, when I'm measuring, I'll be listening out to what they're talking about behind my back.
I love that.
I try and listen to what all the variations in the thoughts are. And then quite often, because I like architecture, I'll pick out some architectural shape, like a quatrefoil shape, and we'll perhaps put that in the centre of an altar frontal with seasonal symbols emanating from that symbol. But it will mean they can recognise a part of their church structure. And that seems to be one way of finding the middle road for them.
How did you get into this originally? Because it's a very unique and specific job. How did you first start out?
Well, when I was about 4, my mum said, I'm going to show you once how to sew a button on. And she kept showing my sisters, and they never got it. But she literally showed me once how to sew a button on. That's it. She wouldn't teach me to do that again. She'd go on to another technique. So over the years, I built up sewing skills, and I was always interested in art at school. And then when I came to doing O-level art, our tutor was very keen on church architecture. So I studied that. And then for A-level, our new art teacher studied manuscript illumination. So I looked at that. And I just started to feel when I was about 18, that I was very much being led in a direction that initially I thought was going to lead into teaching art or French. And by the time I was 21, and in my last year of Teachers Training College, I did a thesis on the changing face of Christianity shown through manuscript illumination, which was fascinating. And then came a time of unemployment. I just got married, and I think the educational people decided she'll have babies perhaps in 2 years, let's not employ her. But a third of our year got jobs, because I think there was a population drop. So I thought, I've got to do something. I ended up stitching zip fronts and pocket linings, smelly things like that. I did that for a few years, did some graphic design work for Derby Cathedral. And then a friend said, I've got to wear a black preaching scarf at St John's College, Nottingham, which was, until it closed, an evangelical college. A design on a preaching scarf? That's not really allowed, I was told. And I thought, well, God is a God of colour. All the things in the world that's colourful, why can't we have vestments with colour on? So I put a design on his scarf, and then his friends saw it. And then it started to grow. And during that first year of doing that, I had my first child, and I used to drag him around the theological colleges doing displays. And I did the same again with my daughter 7 years later. And slowly the business grew. I moved it out of the house into a lovely business centre in Derby. And almost the rest is history. But
wow.
I've done a lot of things in between then and now.
But it sounds like a fascinating journey to go from just that small beginning as a 4-year-old girl learning how to sew a button,
Yes.
all the way through to now. You talk about colour and bringing colour into garments. There's a friend of mine, the Reverend Cindy Kent, and she loves wearing pink. And I've seen pictures of her wearing pink. And it's lovely that we do have lots of colour within the church. And you're right, the church should be full of colour. God is a God full of colour, that's for sure.
And Cindy wears my stoles.
Oh, there you go. Listen, it's been fascinating talking to you and finding out. If anybody wants to find out more about you and your journey, or perhaps even book you, where's the best place to find you online?
We have a website, which is church-textiles.co.uk. I have 2 Facebook pages. One just says Juliet Hemingray, and the other one is Juliet Hemingray Church Textiles. And I'm also on Instagram and very occasionally Twitter, X. Can't stand that name. So all those means are possible. And on email, I'm jhct@church-textiles.co.uk.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for being with us here at CRE 2024. And if you want to exhibit next year, or you want to find out about this year's exhibitors, why don't you hop onto the website? It's creonline.co.uk.